So what does it mean to be on your Grizzly? It means hard work, dedication, and it means progress beyond your Grizzly. Hard work, dedication, and progress.
I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. And if you're busy making moves, say it with me. I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. I'm on my Grizzly, y'all. I'm on my Grizzly. And if you're busy making moves, say it with me.
Coming to you from the City of Angels, this is the Grizzly Podcast with Irvin Scott and Melissa Santos.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Grizzly Podcast. My name is Irvin Scott.
And my name is Melissa Santos.
And today on the show, we got a special guest joining us. We've got actress slash singer slash violinist, writer, Allie Gonino. Let's make some noise. Yeah.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, welcome to the Grizzly Podcast. Thank you so much for being on the show. I was very excited about having you on because obviously you've been doing your thing for quite some time now. And as you may or may not know, the Grizzly Podcast, what we do here, we focus on people that are constantly on their hustle. They're constantly grinding. And I think you're somebody that embodies that. You definitely represent what we do on this show. So without further ado, let's get this show on the road. Let's talk about your life and everything you've accomplished so far. So, Allie, tell us a little bit about yourself as far as like your music career, how this all started. I know you began playing the violin at the age of 7.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you for saying that I've been hustling, because I think with the last year, all of us are kind of like questioning, like, are we still hustling? Like, are we still working? And it is. It's always a grind, but I don't know. I've had like a weird, I don't know, like a mind. Like, am I allowed to curse on this podcast? Yeah, like a mind fuck this year of like, you know, just because I think we're all finding our new normal individually, and I'm definitely kind of like in a period of transition. So I'm appreciative that my grind looks like a grind to others, even if it doesn't feel always like it to me. Yeah, so I started practicing learning violin when I was 7, and still practicing. It's always a lifelong endeavor. And I started performing live in front of people when I was 9. I was really inspired by the Dixie Chicks when they kind of came onto the scene. I'm from outside Dallas, and they're a Dallas band, so I got to see them when I was really young. And Marty McGuire was the reason that I got into music and started playing the violin. And from there, I just started playing at like all the Opries in Texas. And then I started writing music when I was 15, kind of like after I'd had a while to learn the instrument, and started taking mandolin lessons and fiddle lessons, and just got really, really into it. And then started writing.
You also took ballet classes at the age of 7. Is that true?
Yeah, I started ballet when I was 7 as well, and I did ballet for probably 9 years. I had a good run, and then my body started to shut down because I stopped doing it so consistently, because it was kind of like the main focus for many years besides music. When I moved to LA, finally, it kind of fell to the wayside because I wanted to focus more on acting. And I think actually ballet was something that really helped keep my spine kind of in alignment, because violin, it like has shaped my neck to be like kind of like this. When I moved to LA and stopped doing ballet as much, and then I would go to like some dance classes, and then I joined the girl group that I was in called the Stunners. I had these spinal spasms that started happening, which would like basically paralyze me from the neck down, or at least from like the neck to my low back. And it would be just so unbearably painful. I couldn't, like turn my head. I couldn't lift my arms. And so that was the moment that kind of made me shift away from focusing so much on dance, and I was like, I got to start listening to my body more. And acting was already kind of taking off for me, and that was something I enjoyed and was making money at. So, I did that for a while, and the girl group was fun. We were the Stunners.
Let's talk about the Stunners, because you guys had a very good run between 2007 to 2011. Is that correct?
I was just saying, that's right. Yeah, it was Tinashe, Hayley, Kiyoko, Lauren Hudson, and Marisol Esparza. And we were like baby Spice Girls trying to be the new Spice Girls with some instruments.
You guys had your single with the New Boys. It was Dancing Around the Truth.
Yeah, dancing around the truth.
Good song, yeah. Very good time there, I'm sure, right? You guys actually went on tour with Justin Bieber as well.
Mm-hmm. We opened for him, 20 dates across the country. I think we performed in Hartford, Connecticut was our first stop, and at the XL Center. And just the feeling of stepping onto the stage in front of 20,000 people, losing their minds, like obviously they weren't there to see us, but they're just so excited to see Justin Bieber and like gave us the warmest welcome. It was so much fun. Yeah, it was a great time.
What would you guys do on the road for fun?
In the beginning, we were all kind of playing pranks on each other. Like, I remember after the shows, or after the first few shows, we would go out into the parking lot with Justin's whole crew, and we bought water guns and had like these water gun fights, and they would be in front of the fans. Like, the fans would go out after the concert and be able to like watch us play with each other. So that got really fun. And then there was a moment where Justin, before one of our shows, and this might be incriminating evidence.
Go ahead, do it.
And tell the story.
I like tea. Let's go.
I mean, I remember Justin just riding around the arenas on his Segway when Segways came out, and he would just ride around backstage on his Segway, like zip past us. And we were like, cool, we don't have Segways, but cool. He would come into our dressing room like while we were getting ready for the show and just hang out. And I remember like one time I was stretching and we were just like having conversation or whatever, and he just looked at me and he was like, "You're really weird." And I was like, "Yeah, I've gotten that before." I don't know if it was because I just wasn't treating him the way that everyone else kind of was like treating him. Mm-hmm. I just, I like saw him as a little brother. It wasn't like, oh my God, I'm like losing my shit over Justin Bieber. But it was fun. And then I remember one show we had, he basically like dunked a gallon of milk in our dressing room, like just all over it before we got in there. And that was the thing. Obviously, like the venue was really upset about that. They shut it down and they were like, okay, no more.
Yeah, no milk. Ew.
That shit goes bad.
Well, good for Bieber, I guess. He looks like he's probably matured since then, I'm sure.
No one's going to be able to have fun after this. So y'all got in trouble for it.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Like, we had nothing to do with this. This wasn't our idea at all. And that was kind of like our last chapter together as a band. And then I booked the Lion Game. And just for like, financial reasons, I'd been in the band for 3 years at that point, and there was some like weird managerial stuff happening behind the scenes on our side. And I was like, this feels like a good time to depart and go make some money. So, because we did not make any money as a band.
It worked out for you though, because I mean, you, like you mentioned, you were able to play the role of Laurel Mercer, ABC Family's The Lion Game, which was a better gig for you anyway. No disrespect to the Stunners, y'all did your thing, but on top of that, you were able to do the acting thing and eventually get a taste of everything, basically. But let's talk about your role as Laurel Mercer on ABC Family's The Lion Game. What was that like?
It's interesting to think about it. That was like 10 years ago now. I know I think Laurel was like one of the last characters that they cast. They searched high and low for their Laurel for a long time. And I think they took the casting process really seriously because the series was a book series before it was a TV series. And so, they have a fan base already that they wanted to please. And so I just went in for my pre-read. I think they put me on tape for that first read. And I think I'd come back, like I was just off the heels of maybe 10 Things I Hate About You, which was another ABC Family show that I was on. And then had my read, I got a call back and they wanted me to test. And so you go and test for the network, you go, to ABC Family, you do your audition for them. And then once they sign off, it goes to the studio, which was Warner Horizon. I think they looked at maybe 100 or 200 actresses for that role. So I got very, very lucky. I don't want to say luck was totally a part of it because I was, in acting classes and preparing and the preparation, was there, but just very fortunate in how it all played out because once I booked the series and was filming down there, they called me, the creators of the show called me up and they were like, hey, we know that you play music and we'd love to write in a music storyline for your character. Would you be interested in that? And I was like, hell yeah, of course. Like literally the best option I could ever choose. So I was I had just started a folk band at that time with my ex-boyfriend and our friend, Andy Fisher-Price.
The Good Mad?
Yeah, The Good Mad. And it was folk rock music. I played violin. We wrote all the songs together, most of the songs all together. Adam, my boyfriend at the time, wrote a lot of the songs. He wrote some great songs. And so I was like, well, I have, would I rather my character just be like a solo artist or would I rather have some backup? And at the time I wanted the backup. So they came out, we recorded music and shot the show. And it was a crazy time. It was an interesting time because on the surface, with the show, all of this amazing stuff was happening. And then behind the scenes, my parents were telling me they were getting a divorce and there was just a lot of weirdness. And I've come to just expect that from life. As much as there's a lot of cool, awesome things happening in the world, there's always also shitty, crazy things happening. So that was I think my first reality check into life was just yeah, you could be making all the money in the world, be on a national or international television show, but it's not going to change the fact that you're a human being going through crazy experiences that are going to challenge you and make you stronger if you let them, or they can make you crumble. So yeah, I mean, it was, the thing that was intimidating about being on that show was just the fact that I was exposed to so many, now my pool of people that I was exposed to was so much larger. And I had no idea how much that would actually scare me to be that vulnerable in front of that many people. So yeah, I mean, it was good. It was a great experience. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I'm still friends with a lot of those people. And, I literally couldn't have asked for a better situation than to be playing my own music on TV.
Obviously you can't plan life and things just happen. And I think especially in entertainment, I mean, that is what it is. Everything is just happening and you're okay. And you have to just be ready in the right spot at the right time. All the planets have to be aligned, but in a way, and I kind of want to touch on this and you can go ahead and reroute me if you don't want to talk about it, but you brought up your parents having a divorce and you obviously were already older. You're not 6 going through it. So how did that affect you? Because clearly it did. Your parents mean a lot to you. I can tell by that. Do you think it kind of helped you through your role, or do you feel that vulnerability that you were feeling? Do you feel were you able to use that moment in your life in order to get you through this space you were living in through your acting, do you think?
Yeah, it definitely gave me inspiration for the music that I was writing to be played on the show. I mean, that to me is the function of art, is to provide a space for us to channel and heal ourselves. And to process what we're going through. It's like that age-old question, like, is life intimidating? I mean, imitating art, or is art imitating life? Yeah, I mean, definitely having like the financial nest egg was great too. Like being able to afford therapy and afford, things that bring you comfort. But yeah, I mean, to answer your question, I would say absolutely. That's why I'm very, like you say, I'm hustling all the time. It's actually just like because I have to. Otherwise, I will go crazy. And like I've struggled with mental illness, and I've never been diagnosed with depression or anything like that. I think that sometimes when we label something, at least for me, if I am to label myself like I am depressed, it can keep me in a vibration or like a mindset of being stuck there. And I don't ever want to kind of create limits for myself. Depression is here. Not I am depressed. It's I'm a human being and I'm in need of rest. I'm in need of a moment to process what I'm going through. And I think too, in this capitalistic society where everything is so go, 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 where we almost never have time to process anything. I think that was one of the biggest gifts about or from the pandemic, was like, it was this pause where we all got to take a moment and be like, breathe out. Like, it's okay. Like, we can actually just flow through this with intention, and like, actually we'll get to where we want to go faster if we slow down.
Like they said, stop and smell the flowers, right? Like we were forced to do that inside, of course, but like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Dang, you are right about that intention. And I think it was like a Renaissance period, right? And I think incredible art is created during a time like this. And like we started a podcast, and like, there's so much that did come from it, through that. So I agree with you 100%. I think it's great. I'm sure you're just used to doing so much more. We all were. So you're like, when it paused and for so long, you're like, am I doing enough? Like, am I, especially as an artist, I get that. You're like, what am I providing for the world right now during this time that is like very unique and historic? Like, what am I doing? Right. So.
And I've challenged myself to like flip the script. It's like, okay, well, how's the world showing up for me? Who in the world is actually showing up for me?
Yes.
And like reciprocating, because I have spent a lot of time being like, oh, I got to go leaps and bounds and try to like, hustle, make everybody happy. And it's like, hold on. Am I exhausted? Yes. Do I feel sad? Yes. So maybe just take a beat, come back to yourself. Like, that's why my yoga practice has been something that's been so beautiful and grounding for me in this time. I do have just the tendency to burn the candle at both ends.
Absolutely. Let's talk about that.
Because during the pandemic, you mentioned yoga, you got a chance to do that. And I was actually one of those participants. I actually participated in some of her yoga classes.
Okay, downward facing dog. I love it.
During the pandemic, there was so much fear going on, and people were unsure about what was going to happen, what was going on. And Allie was able to find something for me to keep me balanced.
Yeah, I mean, I have my own practice, of course. I only have like one consistent client who I work with all the time, who also reached out to me during the pandemic, and she was like, I'm dealing with like a lot of anxiety, and she just wrote me and she was like, what kind of tips or advice do you have? And I was like, honestly, take up a yoga practice, because it's been it's always the thing that centers me. And I've struggled with anxiety. I've struggled with depression. I've struggled with all of it. So it's not me just saying like, oh yeah, like do yoga because it's like, trendy or whatever. It actually does work. And the deeper that you delve into it, like I would say the times in my life where I've been the most stressed is when my spirituality hasn't been, I put my spirituality on the back burner. And since bringing my spirituality and inner peace, making that like my number one priority, then I just feel better all the time. Doesn't mean I don't have imposter syndrome still, and doesn't mean that I don't struggle with feeling like, oh, am I doing enough? It's just, I've had to like, through the practice of yoga, I've reworked my mental framework of like, oh no, it can all happen. It's just, it's going to take time, and it's okay. And it's okay to not feel okay. It's okay to process everything. It's okay to feel your emotions. I'm someone who likes to just barrel through and like strong arm everything. And then I have these like chaotic mental breakdowns in the middle of the month where I'm like screaming and, all of those things, which is not healthy. So I want to evolve past that. But yeah, so yoga has been a great grounding practice for me. I started the Balance Bay podcast as a way to kind of share my passion of yoga with other people, and just mindfulness and providing a resource, which I've kind of let go a little bit just in the last few months because I needed to bring my energy back to myself, but I'm going to be starting it up again. But we have at least an online community. So if people are interested in just being a part of a yoga community of people who are interested in this kind of work, we're on Mighty Networks. Just search The Balanced Bay, BAE, or you can find us on Instagram at _balanced_bay.
And I'm glad you're doing something like that where you cover various topics. I know that podcast, like you mentioned, it covered things like mental health. You guys talked about art and culture. It was a community thing for sure. And, through that podcast, you also talked about music and sound healing, meditation. So some of the topics that you guys talked about were very important. What were the discussions like with various guests? Did you have guests on that show too? Did they all concentrate on the topics I just mentioned, or did you kind of dive into other topics as well?
I had my friend Matthew Pates, who's a mental health coach, but also like a self-development coach. His episode was very popular because he talks about going into kind of like our behavioral patterns and how those are formed earlier in our childhood, and how we can often take those patterns or habits of thought, or just patterns and habits of being, ways of being, into our adulthood when we actually need to like break those down and move beyond that so that we're not recreating pain over and over and over again. And then I had on another friend, Caduce, who at the time was starting a project called Ally Now, which was born of the Black Lives Matter movement. And I think he's since called quits on that, which I think he should keep it going. If he doesn't run it, I think someone should, because it's a cool idea. Basically, he started it as a way to help corporations integrate people of color more effectively and more harmoniously into work environments, and just basically kind of educating corporations on how to do that, and helping people feel seen and heard in those environments. I had a meditation coach on, my friend Carrie. So it's kind of like, different things. I'm sure it'll continue to evolve, but basically like the intention with Balanced Bay is to bring together voices, people with platforms who are trying to help Americans, or anyone in the world who can listen to podcasts, develop and grow and become better versions of themselves, for themselves and for society.
You've done so much in your career. We mentioned earlier your acting career. You talked about the podcast. Recently, you've launched several songs. Tell me a little bit more about that.
I released a song called Part of You. It's definitely more on the pop side, which I'm not used to doing as much. But I wanted to do just like a good, inspirational, feel-good pop song, and that was that. And I did a contest called Voices That Give, which Jen Lilly started from, I think she's Days of Our Lives. Ooh, I hope I'm not wrong about that. But anyway, she's a friend of mine, and she's an actress and singer and all around amazing human being. And she put on this contest to help raise funds for, I believe that one was for, I think it was foster care, foster youth. So anyway, yeah. So I made like a little home video to promote the song, and I think it had a pretty good run. And then last year, did I release Rodrigo last year? I think that was the year before. And then this year I I released a music video for my song called Deserted, which is very the opposite vibe of Part of You. Is just like very dark and sad. But it was reflective of a time that, you know, like when I was going through my breakup and kind of like the worst stages of my depression. I wrote that song then, and I decided to basically create a music video that was not about my story, but is about a subject that's very important to me, which is just kind of like this military industrial complex that we have in America, and how war ultimately negatively impacts women and children always. And so, yeah, it's a think piece on that. And so the music video's out. We did a premiere and helped raise money for Futures Without Violence, which is an organization dedicated to supporting victims of domestic violence and children who have grown up in abusive homes and things like that. So I'm very proud of it. My friend Alexandra Chando, who was my co-star on The Lion Game, she directed it. And we actually shot it a few years ago. So it's been a minute since we made it, but it felt like this was the right time because during COVID, because husbands and wives were just forced to be together so much more. We kind of saw like a rise in domestic violence cases go way up through the roof, which is something that, like, unless something like this happened, we wouldn't know was even a factor. And it was interesting because I was in an acting class last year, and one of the plays that I was working on was this play or this scene from Win, Lose, Draw. And the character that I was playing was in an abusive, you know, kind of tough relationship with her husband. And she was like trying to leave. She's struggling with mental illness. And it just kind of gave me the perspective of someone in that position that doesn't have the resources, that doesn't have an education or, you know, a track record of doing work. You know, she was a mom too. And so it was interesting to have that perspective and like be living in that world in my class. And also just thinking about how many women that probably are going through the same thing right now in America. Entertainment is wonderful and I love art and I'll always make it, but I think when utilized best, it reflects what we really need to look at within ourselves, rather than distract, because that's how we learn, is through self-reflection. And so this Deserted was a think piece about, you know, why do we continue to be a country that goes to war every 10 years? Even what's happening right now in Israel and Palestine, which I don't want to totally get into because that's not what this is about, but just to kind of draw the correlation is that, you know, the truth is America's been donating or giving financial aid to their military for years. And so I think it's important for Americans to realize that, like, our tax dollars actually are part of what is going towards creating this chaos, destruction, and genocide in a country across the world.
We do that. We like to destroy countries and then just leave.
Yeah. So. Oh, and then flip the narrative and say that they deserved it for whatever bullshit reason.
They don't, though. Yeah, I agree 100%. A lot of people suffering, you know, and I think it's great that you shine light on things that you honor what you feel. And I think that's great. You're very, I can just tell you're like, no, this is what I feel and this is what's going to come out. And like, if you like it, cool. If you don't like it, also cool. I love that you're honoring that space. You're like, I'm not afraid. Like, I'm going to present this to you and, you know, go ahead and do what you want with it. And you honor that self within yourself. And I think that's great. I think that you keep yourself healthy that way, mentally, physically, creatively, like all those things are the same. And complete side note, that that Irvin was also doing yoga with you. So I didn't know you did yoga. And I think that's amazing. I've done yoga. Yoga's so hard for me. I think it's incredible that like yoga brings a lot of different types of people together. Like my husband is a bodybuilder. Like heated yoga. It's what is it called? Bikram, I think is wrong. That's a completely different type of yoga, right? And then I love that there's different disciplines of it. I told him, I'm like, this will be good for you. He was slipping all over the place. He was just like, I can't do this. And he was like, he wasn't concentrating. And then I'm trying to concentrate also and just kind of being in that space. And it was just so hard in general for me to just kind of tone everything down. But it was even harder because he's like, I'm trying to help him, right? And it's hard because he's not flexible. But you see it in the class, you see everyone having like their own struggle. And it's almost like life, like that's life. Like everyone is like, yoga is, I think the embodiment, and you're forced to like really deal with like what it is you're dealing with in the outside world that is very, very loud. And then whether you're doing Bikram or any other type of discipline of yoga, like you're forced to be like in your body. That's it. You're going to deal with it. You're going to deal with what that feels like and what you're thinking in that moment as you're feeling that. And then I feel like life starts rushing in. I remember thinking about just so much. And I'm like, wow, I'm really thinking about that right now. Right. And then like how I deal with that thought, like, does it stay? Do I push it out? And so, yeah, it's one of those things that really, I personally wish I could really focus on doing, but it's almost like it scares me in a way. I don't know how to explain it. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm going to be forced to think of this. Can I handle that?
For me, I do love a sweaty class, but I don't want to do that 3 times a week because I'll get dehydrated. And I really appreciate a slow flow where I'm holding the poses a bit longer. It's just, I'm feeling my way through everything. I can tune into my body. I can, really yoga is for the breath. Like most people think that it's like to get really flexible and strong and like you'll get there eventually if you continue to practice it. But really what it's for is to take us out of that monkey mind thing. And I think like being in that monkey mind is what kind of like exacerbates anxiety and all that stuff that we deal with, like the mental chit chat. And so, I think for me, just like focusing on the breath has been the thing that's helped me the most. And sometimes you go to yoga classes and they don't even emphasize how important it is to just
breathe, and so I 100% love it. I do have to find like a discipline that kind of works with me as well, because that was cool and the sweating and the detoxing that comes from it, but I sweat in the gym. I'm probably gonna go do some cardio after this, and that's where I kind of zen out. But I do 100% believe like yoga is one of those things that it is this amazing practice, and like you said, it's a practice and you're constantly evolving like any other art. Like art is not like, I don't know, what is that saying? And I'm going to completely butcher it. So it's like art is, what is it? It's not over. It's always evolving. And I'm going to mess this up. And it was until the fat lady sings. And then like the fat lady has like laryngitis. So it's never going to change. It's like, it's never going to stop being this evolutionary thing. So, and fat lady's never going to sing. So, and it's always forever changing. And I know that's what yoga is. Like, you're always just getting better and better and better. And
well, and that's life too. Like life is an evolution. And I think the more that we accept that and kind of roll with the changes, that's what a lot of us want. And then we run into these people who are like still living in the past. Like the fact that we're living in 2021 and there's still war, like what?
I know. Like, what is this?
How have we not evolved past that? Like, we have history so we can learn from it.
But I feel like it's just this, we're animals.
True.
It's sad. We're probably just the most dangerous animal on the planet. Like, we are that. And, communication, I think, we need to stop investing in bombs, and we need to start investing in communicators, because that's the first line of defense. Like, we pay people a lot of money to be able to talk to each other so that this kind of crap doesn't happen. And we're seeing it, and it's sad, and
maybe that's what I need to be doing next.
Communicating, learning a bunch of different languages and like talking back and forth and learning. And no, I mean, I think most people want that. This is why I try to stay away also from like the news and like just a lot. I try to pull back because I think that's like kind of conditioning people to divide and not have conversations, and just like it's easier to hate when you don't understand, like when you don't know what that person is going through. Like you're just like, okay, I'm gonna hate you because it's like I don't know you, and that's fine.
Easier.
Yeah, so that's what it is for us. I think in the US, like we give a lot of people a lot of money for whatever reason all day long. We don't know what this funding, like you said, or taxes, like what is it funding? And right now we're kind of funding a war, it's happening. It just started happening. And again, we won't touch base on that heavily, but I do agree with you. We fund a lot of things that are unfair, and it's sad, and I think that's why we have so much mental illness. I mean, people are aware of this, whether you push it away or not. Like we're absorbing this. Like your subconscious absorbs the hell out of this, and you're like, oh gosh, I can't. Like I need to physically detox mentally. It's sad.
Allie, I want to know what kind of yoga did you have me on last year, man? Because I was probably like beginner level. I think I lasted like 2 days in that class.
What?
Yeah. I think I had you in just restorative yoga, just to like bring you back down to earth, get you to open up a little bit. We weren't doing too many vinyasas or downward facing dogs. Irvin didn't have a mat either.
I had ordered my mat, but it hadn't got there on time. So I think by the time like I finally got my mat, Allie just kind of gave up on me. She was like, you know what? This guy's not serious. No.
Where'd you get it from?
It was a website that Allie recommended. I forgot the name. I don't know.
It definitely is helpful to have someone in person with you. It was a little bit hard to like demonstrate and watch you at the same time and be able to like correct you. So I do have friends in LA who teach yoga. If you need a recommendation for like a private instruction that I can recommend. But if anybody is out there, I'm not doing like a crazy amount of private lessons, but I'm opening up my schedule for a few more private Zoom virtual students. If you're interested in, trying yoga out, I definitely think before going into a class, it's good to do at least 1 or 2 classes with just an instructor, just you
like
and that
person. So you can kind of, do you feel like it's more, I guess, helpful to have someone like coming in and just kind of positioning you maybe, or like,
yeah, when you go into a class, like we're already in the habit of always constantly comparing ourselves to each other. Mm-hmm. So when you go into a class setting, your mind's automatically going to go there. But if you are doing a private session, it's just you, it's just them. There's no judgment. And it's literally just like, I think it's just easier to drop into the practice initially. And then once you get comfortable and you like know what a downward dog is, what, an uttanasana or utkatasana is, like, then go into a class and like have fun and do your thing. You can just shoot me an email, thebalancedbay@gmail.com. Like I said, I'm not, opening up my entire schedule to it, but I'm definitely open to taking on a few more clients. We would have a conversation. Like I'll do like an intro call on the phone to see like, where are you in your life? What are you dealing with? What, what's your exercise routine been like so far? Have you done yoga before? Is it totally new? Or, and just kind of going through a different set of questions to get to know them and craft a practice that is good and resonates for them.
Specific for them. I think that's great. You're like a therapist.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yoga is therapy.
But I know your parents are Dr. John and Linda Gonino. They owned and operated the Gonino Center for Healing in Heath, Texas. Is that correct? Is that center still, is it still there or?
Still up and running. My dad's still practicing. He's a DO. He's a doctor of osteopathy, which means that he was just mainly like alternative and integrative therapies, and with a focus on the spine as like kind of like the foundation. It's like functional medicine. They do, they have like a whole IV room. So if you're feeling dehydrated or you've been lacking in certain vitamins, you can go get a treatment there. He's had, I think, over 25 years experience treating people with cancer, autoimmune diseases, all of that kind of thing. So yeah, it's very cool to see that succeed and continue to succeed.
Do they still work together in some capacity or not really? Like, I mean, after the divorce, was that completely done?
Yeah, no, they don't really work together anymore, but It's okay. My mom's on her own thing. She has a product actually called Alka Salts, and it's a mineral combination that helps to balance your pH. So normally, like, we live very acidic lifestyles, which can lead to a myriad of terrible things. So this powder, essentially, you just like mix it up with water. It's called Alka Salts, and it helps to bring your pH levels back into a more alkaline state.
That's phenomenal, especially like during a time where like this COVID, is out there and like people are super sick because of it. Like your body can't get sick if it's like in a balanced state. I love that, like how balance is all about your life. Like you are.
Definitely is the balanced bay.
You are like your parents are that. I mean, like that's what it is, like a balanced pH. Like your mom is balancing people's like pH so that like they can't get sick, because like 70% of your immune system is in your tummy. So like if you're all messed up and like it's like perfect, right? So like you're gonna get sick, like if it's that perfect space, or you can just be on like boxing the viruses out of the way, right? And so like that's really what your mom is doing. I think that's neat, and that's your mother. And then your dad is like balancing people's spines. Like you literally can't do anything if your spine is out of whack. Like it's insane. That's amazing. Like really, really cool.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I love it.
And speaking of balance, you recently took a vacation, right? You went on vacation with a friend of yours. How that led to you creating this new single of yours, which is called Unspoken.
Yeah, I actually recorded the song last year in quarantine with some friends. But yeah, we recorded it last year, and then, this year rolled around, and my girlfriend, who actually owns Lit Yoga Bar, she was like, hey, like, I'm going to the Maldives. Do you want to come? And I was like, let me check my schedule. Sure.
We're not going to be going anywhere anytime soon. Yes.
Yeah, I was already on a trip. It was when the big freeze was happening in Texas. I'm like, I can't even go home. Clearly the only option here is to go to the Maldives. So I went there and I was like,
makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get the memo, but okay, cool. Nice.
You gotta take those messages and cues from the universe.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Like, what it feels like to be in the Maldives is literally this song that I made last year. I need to release the song anyway. Might as well just make a cute little music video. I shot it on my iPhone. Like,
oh, yeah.
Wow. That's incredible.
I had my tripod with me. I was like, let's just do this. And I edited it myself. And it's really amazing, like what technology allows us to do with, like, the tools that we have nowadays. There's just no excuse for not creating exactly the life and picture of your life that you want to be out there.
And that's what you talked about earlier, how you're always creating. You wrote the song last year, shot the video while on vacation. I want to just say that this song is a bop, man, because I'm listening to it myself and I enjoy it. Here's the thing. I'm a big like hip hop head, and I do enjoy other types of genres as well, especially because I'm also a writer. So I guess being an artist, when you're writing, you have to appreciate every type of genre. And I think with your song, I mean, for me, I listened to the lyrics and obviously it sounded really good. I'm like, you know what? She's got something here. What was it like shooting this video?
It took me an afternoon. I set aside maybe 3 hours. I think it took, maybe 2 or 3 hours to shoot everything. I had my little tripod, which I'm using right now. And, you just set up the angles. I did a bunch of different takes from a bunch of different angles. And then when I edited it, I like flipped some of the pictures, turned things around because certain things get monotonous. Like you just get creative with like how you like edit.
Did you know, like going into your vacation, that you're like, I'm going to shoot, like this might happen?
On the way over there, I was like, I should do this, because also too, it's like a great way to capture that moment in my life. And I was like, this is such when you're on those islands, the wind is just like constantly blowing and it's like a cool soft breeze and the water's just constantly moving all around you. It was so vibey. It was just so I was going to say, and to your point about like, different genres, I was lucky enough to co-write the song with some friends of mine. And my friend Josh Perales is from Mexico, and he was the one to kind of bring that like Latin flair with the guitar riff. And so I just played over that. And then the gal that we got to come in and write lyrics for, her name's Rachel West. And she's a woman of color and she's from Portland. So she kind of like brought that like hip hoppy kind of vibe. And then Scott Stewart, who's the producer, he's worked with Ashley Tisdale and just like does like great pop tracks. And I think I know it was the culmination of everybody's energy in that space that made it so special, because, you listen to my other music doesn't sound like that. It's very like,
it's the last two songs you've created, which was Part of You and Unspoken, that really sound different from your last, compared to your last EP, I should say, which I have a copy of, Hollywood High. It was very different. I like what you do as far as your music goes, but what you're doing now is just as cool too, because you can see the growth as an artist. And an artist is always somebody that's constantly evolving.
Embracing the evolution and just like letting it just like flow out of you. That's what I think like makes, in my opinion, makes a good artist. Like, I'm like, oh, I don't know what you're going to do next. Like, I'm okay with that, because like once I like an artist, it's okay. Like it evolved. Like we're kind of living your life like through you, like your experiences and like how you see things. And so if that's how you're seeing it and that's what you're vibing to, like, I want to see that. Like, I want to know, like, that's so dope that you were able to bring your fans into that and like bring everyone into that. That's so cool. Like, thank you. Yeah. I think that's your gift to the world. Like, you're not okay. You're fine doing that. I think that's great. Like, you're vulnerable all the time. Thank you for that. I'm sure that's hard on you sometimes, but we enjoy that.
I listen to the music, I listen to the lyrics, and I can tell how much, how much passion goes into creating everything you're doing. And I just seen you recently on Instagram. I think it was a buddy of yours. He posted a video of you actually playing the violin, and you were in the studio just doing your thing in there. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, you're so talented, So kudos to you for doing what you do.
Through art and through this renaissance that we have lived, that we are still living, I think that there's amazing art coming out of that. People have rerouted their efforts and like done these things, and like I feel like you are the embodiment of that, because you're 100% always living in that moment. And you have created like this incredible art during this time, right? You're like, I'm going to make a music video right here. Like, I don't care. I'm doing this. This is what I'm feeling. I'm going to do it. And I want everyone to see it. And like, you're welcome. And if you don't like it, whatever, you too, I love you still. Like, I feel that off of you. Like, that's the vibe I get off of you.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I'm going to love on you, even though you don't want me to love on you. And I'm going to love you through like this amazing art that I make.
Thank you so much for saying that. And that's my hope for people is that they have the courage to live their truth. I want to see a nation of people on fire in a good way, not setting each other on fire, but on fire because they're living their soul's truth. Like that, it's joy, like when you actually create, I mean, in the process is not always joy. In the process, you can go through some shit, and like, I've been through depression on the way to get here. Like, it was not
healing. It's healing, right? Like you do this thing just to heal yourself. You're so vulnerable, and then you are putting that out there to people. Like, that's something that I personally have never, like, maybe through my acting, but I've never, that's where I am like, oh, I don't know if everybody needs to see this. And you do that. And I think that's great. And I thank you for that. And the world needs to thank you for gifts like that.
The energy has to go somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Let it go into something positive and beautiful and inspiring. And your art is going to inspire more artists, which is great. Like, you're cultivating a whole new generation of artists. So people should shut their TVs off and just like turn on artists like yourself that are doing amazing things.
We need each other to stay inspired and to stay motivated and just aware of like what we could be doing better.
Mm-hmm.
And Allie, what other current projects are you working on at the moment?
I'm finishing up production on my first long play LP album, but I'm gonna release an EP of about 4 songs from this album, I think in June. So, and I think I'm gonna use that as a platform to launch a GoFundMe so that I can fund the rest of the album. Because we've done it all ourselves up until this point, and we just have like a little bit more to go to bring it to completion. And I think, having a little bit of funding will help us do that. So, yeah, I want to give my listeners a taste of what that's going to sound like with these 4 songs, and they'll kind of get the vibe and, see the production quality. We've spent years working on this, and I'm really, really proud of it. So I'm excited about that.
Can you give us a little bit of like a taste of what that vibe is like?
It's all rooted in storytelling, and I call the vibe Tarantino pop.
Okay, yeah.
Like phenomenal. Yeah, it's like
interesting.
Sounds amazing.
It's like edgy Texas meets, Southern California with a cinematic flair.
Once you release it, please let us know. Melissa and I would love to watch it, hear it, whatever. So looking forward to that. I want to ask you really quick, for the diehard Stunner fans out there that are still out there, what's your relationship like with Tinashe and Hayley Kiyoko?
We're really bad about communicating. We're on great terms. I love those gals. I think everybody's just like in their own lane and doing our own things, but I love them, and I think they're both so talented and are, doing their own thing in their own way. And like, I think that's the cool thing, and was like the cool foundation about the Stunners is there was a focus on us each having our own individual identity. So it was like a good like planting ground for us to kind of start to develop ourselves as artists. And I love, what Hayley has done for the LGBTQ community with her platform, and Tinashe just being a sexy, self-empowered badass. Yeah.
Can we see a possible mini reunion in the future?
I was just going to ask that. You beat me to it. Yeah.
A collaboration of some sort in the future or something?
I would love that. Open to collaborating with people, especially people that I've already made great music with. I would love that. I actually have a song called Stunner that I've been sitting on for a long time. And if they would want to make that record with me, I'd love to do it. If they're open to it, I'm here for it.
There you go. It's we're putting it out in the universe now. Yes. Tinashe, Hayley, let's make it happen.
Stunner reunion.
Stunner reunion. Let's do it.
So music, yoga, that's what I'm up to right now.
So social media, you're on Instagram, you're on Twitter, everything basically, right?
Instagram @go_Nino. You can follow me on Twitter, although I mostly just like air my grievances about political stuff on there. So if you're not really ready to hear about that, maybe don't follow me.
So Allie, thank you so much for being a part of the show today. It was definitely amazing just getting a chance to know basically everything going on in your world right now. You're such a talented person already, you know that. But now being able to kind of like share that talent with the world, your music is so important. The songs are amazing. It's such a unique sound.
You're great. I think you're the vibe that like this world needs, and keep doing that and keep gifting everybody this, this amazing energy that you have. I love it. I love all of it.
So nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think you guys are awesome too.
With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for checking out the Grizzly Podcast. Again, big kudos, a big shout out to our guest here, our friend, Allie Gonino. Make sure you guys check her out on social media. Allie, plug that social media for us one more time. The Instagram, the Twitter, whatever it is.
All the things.
Everything.
All
Where can they find you?
Instagram, Twitter @go_NINO. That's my last name, Gonino. And that's pretty much it. Those places. Oh, and then the Balanced Bay @the_balanced_bay.
Thank you, Allie. Have a good one. Take care. Be safe.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Bye.
Hey y'all, it's Allie Gonino, and you are getting ready to watch my new music video for my single Unspoken, which you can find on all streaming platforms, iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, or you can buy it on iTunes.
So much unspoken, so much more that we hold in, and before we get this thing going, can we put it all in the open? Sitting across from you, lavender afternoon, equally peaceful and symphonic, watching the feelings bloom, wondering thoughts in you, offer to pay what else you wanted. Wish I knew what you're thinking, wish I could begin, hard to assume you're being honest. I just wanna protect myself, make sure there's nothing else. always questioning what you're expecting in return. I've been learning my boundaries, guarding my energy. For the first time I know my worth. Needing nothing attracts everything. Didn't ask for you, but you're here. These silent contracts hovering, tapping into my fear. So much unspoken, so much more that we hold in. And before we get this thing going, can we put it all in the open? Let's pause before we get carried away. Hold on, make sure we're both on the same page. Leave nothing unspoken, no need to hold in. Put it all out in the
Yo, turn it up. Hard work, dedication, and progress. Stay on your Grizzly.
Yeah.
Thanks for checking out another Grizzly Podcast episode. We'll see you next time.